Phase two or just
No, there's
employees
nothing
or?
wrong with that. What's your name?
No, I asked Sarah Swanson.
So you're part of this festival. How many years have you been involved in it?
Oh, I don't know a lot.
So you carry a lot of experiences, right?
Yes.
Now, you have experience, you've been many years, and you seem to understand what were the advantages of having it at the Paramount and the different venues now. What's the difference in your opinion?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I really understand the
I
question.
said, what are the differences between when most of the sessions were taking place at the Paramount and now in the Baptist church or other venues?
I'm not sure if the Paramount gives us more room. It feels like it probably does. Uh, it's near the State Theater, which gives you another venue a short walk away. That gives you a fair amount of space. And it also puts you in a place where you can get food easily. It has a lot more energy. And I think that actually does matter to the festival, is that you feel a certain type of energy that I think got lost having the big sessions up at the Baptist Church.
What are some of the sessions that have been very particularly interesting to you?
I think one that I got the most out of was Walter Isaacson, which is not a session I was planning to go to. I was going to go to a different session that filled up before I could get a seat. But I'm glad that happened because Isaacson talked about the line from Thomas Jefferson about the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But more importantly, he talked about certain things about society in that era. I think one thing that's stuck out to me that I'd never heard of before was the idea of the commons. And I've gone to all sorts of historic places over and over and over again in the United States. But the idea that if you were a landowner, you also set aside common area. The people who maybe couldn't afford to buy a big tract could come and graze their animals. And that's apparently where we got the word commoner, is the sort of people who didn't have land but had access to this. And so the idea was that people with wealth and resources could build wealth, etc., for themselves, but they had to have this balance of what they shared for the common good. And that the founding fathers, particularly Franklin, had this concept of we want to take care of certain things for people, like the hospital in Philadelphia where anybody could go. It's again this idea, and education available for everybody. So maybe you're born into poor circumstances, but you can get a fundamentally pretty good education and make anything you want of your life. That while we want people to be able to build their own wealth, there still has to be that idea of providing for the common good, for all the really essential things like healthcare, education, food. And I was also, and I need to hope that I heard this right, struck by his description of Franklin having given throughout his lifetime to religious institutions other than his own church, so that when he died, his casket was carried not just by people of his own church, but people from faiths across his city. And I think that's something as Americans, when we talk about what did the founders intend, I don't think people know that. I didn't know that, and I read a lot of history. So I valued that session. The other sessions I probably valued the most were the ones on energy in Texas. There was a session on renewables, and there was a session, kind of a more broad spectrum of energy. And I learned a lot from those, and the amount of energy that we're going to need in this state, that we're producing for in this state, but really across the world right now, was of a lot of interest, because if we're going to have the sort of society or the sort of economy we're expecting to have with a lot of data centers, et cetera, the amount of energy we're going to need is phenomenal. And then, as someone who's lived in this state a long time, I naturally kind of wondered about the other part of that equation we're going to have to consider, which is where do we get our water, and what are we doing to make sure we have enough water for the population we're expecting. Those were the sessions I found most valuable.
Finally, what will you say to those who think it's too expensive, it's not worth the money? What advice do you have for them?
Well, it's worth the money for me. This is festival season in Austin, so we go to ACL for the music. We go to the book festival, which is free, and you see some of the same authors at the Texas Book Festival that you see here, and we come to this. But of all the three, this is the one I value the most. So I'm not sure I'm going to go to ACL next year, including the crowds there have gotten so big
I know.
that you worry about being crushed. No joke. But here you sort of remember what it means to be a citizen, and are reminded that we have an obligation in this society to participate and to try to be good citizens. To me, this is the most valuable of any of the festivals I go to. And I don't go to that many festivals, but my family, including my kids, my husband and I, tend to go to those.
And your husband is with you. What does he think about the festival?
Well, he always comes, let's put it that way. And yeah, he's still working full time. So sometimes he can come less or more depending on what he has to get done at work that day. But he always finds it very valuable, and he's pretty much always tried to be the first person in line at book signings because he gets inspired by what he hears and then wants to read more.
Thank you very much.